husband took revenge by sleeping with my affair partner's daughter and ruined our lives forever. Hey Reddit, longtime lurker here, but this is my first time posting. I have things to get off my mind. I'm not sure where to turn or how to process this whirlwind of emotions. I just needed to share this with someone, to vent and perhaps find some solace in sharing my story. So I guess here I am, pouring my heart out to you, Reddit. My husband, or should I say ex-husband now, has just done something unimaginable. I know he's furious with me and I don't absolve myself of guilt. I cheated and that's on me. But what Nicholas did goes beyond any measure of revenge. He crossed a line that has shattered my life irreparably. Let me back up a bit. My name is Emily and I'm 35 years old. Nicholas, my husband, is 30. We met on a dating site, went through the beautiful stages of dating, and eventually tied the knot 5 years ago. We have 2 wonderful boys, aged 6 and 4. Our life seemed perfect from the outside, successful careers, a loving family, and dreams of a future together. But as life often does, it threw challenges our way, and I made a terrible mistake. I know I hurt Nicholas deeply with my actions. I'm not excusing my behavior, but what he did in retaliation tore my world apart. We're not divorced yet, still in the process of legal separation while trying to shield our children from the whole thing that's going on. I've been going on, and I'm really sorry about that. It's just that I'm feeling incredibly upset and furious. Our jobs were solid. Nicholas was this fiery, successful lawyer, and I was in architecture. I had a great job, but I got fired after all this mess because the company owner is friends with Nicholas. It stung because I got that job mainly through Nicholas's connections. Life before this chaos was like living in a perfect bubble. Nicholas and I were both go-getters, climbing our career ladders. We weren't sweating bills thanks to Nicholas's family money. We had this cozy home, 2 cute kids, and our bond felt unbreakable. We split the chores and bills quite fairly, but let's be real. Nicholas took on the bigger chunk. It wasn't a big deal, though, because we both knew he brought in more money. Our life wasn't perfect, but it was good. We had our routines, our arguments, and our happy moments. Things were chugging along until I messed it all up. Things were pretty much like that for some time. Nicholas hardly had any free time. You might think that as an architect I'd be snowed under, but that wasn't the case. I had my team handling most of the workload, which left me with loads of free hours. Plus, since I got the job through Nicholas's connections, my workload was lighter compared to others in my field. Now Nicholas, he was swamped. He's a top-notch lawyer. He's known for never losing a case. His stellar reputation made everyone want to work with him, which added to his already hectic schedule. On top of that, he had what you could call a normal libido. We were intimate a few times a week at most, but I had a much higher sex drive and wanted sex more frequently. Nicholas was a real catch. Charming, brainy, funny, and driven. Those traits totally hooked me, and it's no wonder he climbed the success ladder so darn fast. But with all that success came a big sacrifice. His time. He was always buried in work, leaving us with only scraps of time together. So our relationship sort of turned into this routine where we were just 2 busy people cohabiting. Our connection lost its spark, and we didn't have those deep, meaningful moments like before. But Nicholas was always there for our kids. They absolutely adored him, and every spare moment he had was spent with them. It was sweet seeing how close they were, especially our eldest, who looked up to his dad like a hero. At just 6, he already had dreams of being a lawyer like him someday. Then at one of those work conferences, that's when I ran into Adam, my affair partner. I can't justify my actions, and I'm not trying to excuse what I did. But Adam had this charm about him that drew me in, something I hadn't felt in a long time. With Nicholas being constantly tied up with work, I often felt invisible in our relationship. Adam changed that. It started innocently enough. We struck up a conversation at the conference, and there was this undeniable chemistry between us. He was attentive, asking about my work and genuinely interested in what I had to say. For someone who felt overlooked at home, his attention felt refreshing. As we parted ways after the conference, we exchanged numbers and agreed to stay in touch. I knew he was into me, and I won't lie, I enjoyed the flattery. But deep down, I told myself it was harmless, that it wouldn't go beyond friendly banter. A few days went by. I tried to ignore Adam's first few messages, but they kept coming, almost like he was on a mission. So I resorted to replying in a pretty short and snappy way, trying to keep things strictly casual. But Adam was persistent. He didn't give up easily. This guy was like a persistent salesperson at your door. His messages kept popping up, and eventually I caved in and started chatting with him more. I didn't see any harm in it, just harmless chatting. I figured it wouldn't hurt to shoot the breeze a bit. So we started talking about our days, work stuff, and random topics. Adam had this knack for making even boring stuff sound interesting. He'd crack jokes, share funny stories, and before I knew it, I was looking forward to his messages. It was a nice break from the usual routine. That's how our chat marathon kicked off. As Adam and I kept talking, we really got to know each other. It's funny how our situations mirrored each other's at first glance. He opened up about his marriage, which was in a similar boat to mine, or maybe a bit worse. His wife was always buried in work, just like mine, and their love had fizzled out over time. It's crazy how work can mess up something so good, right? They had a daughter, Emma, who was already in her 20s. Adam himself was in his 40s, but you wouldn't guess it from his energy and vibe. Despite being older, Adam had this infectious energy that oozed from his messages. He acted like a kid at times in a good way. Our conversation started to get a bit flirtatious. It was harmless, or at least that's what we told ourselves. We were just two married people having a bit of fun in our conversations. It felt exciting, like a little escape from the routine of our lives, even though deep down we knew we were treading on thin ice. As Adam and I talked more, we started liking each other even more. I began to fancy him a bit, wondering what it would be like to, be close to him. But I always brushed those thoughts off as just daydreams. We both had days off sometimes, especially me. Adam stayed home. He had been a stay-at-home dad when their daughter Emma was little and then just never went back to work, which was cool. Although it was kind of unusual at first, but I guess every family does things differently, right? On those days when I didn't have work, Adam suggested we hang out. He asked when was the last time I went out with friends. It had been forever since I went out with anyone. I wasn't exactly the social butterfly back in school. I was more of the loner in school, not the cool kind, sadly. I mostly kept to myself and didn't make many real friends. So the idea of spending time with someone, even if it was just casual, sounded nice. As Adam and I started hanging out more, it became a regular thing. Whenever I had a day off and felt bored at home, I'd arrange for my younger sibling to babysit or hire a babysitter so I could go out with Adam. Initially, it was just casual outings, nothing too serious or romantic. This new routine didn't go unnoticed by my husband, Nicholas. He began to question why I was going out more often, especially to places I rarely visited alone before, like the movies or the mall. These were simple places, yet they felt refreshing to me because they were like a break from the mundane routine I had fallen into. Plus, Adam was the one who mostly picked the locations. Nicholas, being occupied with work, hadn't paid much attention until then. He mentioned that he had noticed I was leaving the house a lot outside of my working days, which surprised him as I wasn't one to do that. He wasn't one to check locations regularly, so this was out of the norm for him. His concern was more about my well-being than anything else. He felt bad that work was consuming him and our time together was getting limited. I reassured him that everything was fine and that I appreciated his concern. I even found it kind of cool that he noticed these small changes. It showed he cared. He apologized again for being busy, hoping that things would ease up soon. I assured him that I was just spending some quality time with myself since he, my closest companion, had his plate full with work. As Adam and I hung out more, he took charge of our plans. He introduced me to stuff like fishing and golfing, things I never really cared for until he showed me how fun they could be. Our fishing trips were a blast. We'd pack up our gear, head out to a nearby lake or river, and spend hours casting lines and chatting. Adam was patient. He taught me the ins and outs of fishing, from picking bait to reeling in a catch. It was a whole new world for me, surprisingly relaxing and enjoyable. Golfing became another favorite. Adam patiently taught me the basics, from how to stand and swing to understanding the game's rules. I never thought I'd like golf, but Adam's excitement made it fun. We'd laugh at our mistakes and cheer for each other's successes on the course. These activities brought us closer. Our talks got more personal, and I found myself sharing things I hadn't told anyone else. Adam brought out a side of me that had been dormant. He made life feel more adventurous and fun. As time went on, Adam and I got closer and closer. We'd hang out at his place a lot because he was usually by himself. His wife was busy at work and their daughter Emma was off at college, so it was just us. We'd watch movies, chat, and eventually we crossed that line. We ended up sleeping together. I thought I'd feel guilty afterward, but you know what? I didn't, not even a bit. It was more like a weight off my shoulders. That's when the affair started between Adam and me. We had a real talk after we had sex that day and realized how much we wanted each other. It was like finding a missing piece of a puzzle. We just clicked. We both felt happier when we were together, so we made the choice to dive into an affair. It wasn't a decision we took lightly, but the spark between us was too strong to ignore. And the closer I got to Adam, the more distant I grew from my husband. It was like living in two separate worlds. One with Adam, where everything including the sex was great, and the other with my husband, where everything seemed dull and distant. Despite my husband's efforts to be around more, taking on fewer cases and trying to reconnect with me, it felt like I was slipping away. The more I continued with my affair, the more I realized how distant I had become from my husband. It confused him, and he tried hard to bridge the gap, but it was like there was a barrier between us that he couldn't break through. Months rolled by, and Adam and I kept sneaking around together. We'd find excuses to meet up, like running errands or claiming I had to work overtime. Comparing my time with Adam to my marriage with Nicholas was like night and day. With Adam, every moment felt alive and full of excitement. We laughed, talked for hours, and shared a connection that felt electric. On the other hand, being with Nicholas felt boring and distant, and we no longer had the spark we once had. Even though I sometimes felt guilty about the affair, the enjoyment of being with Adam overshadowed any doubts. It was like a breath of fresh air. Well, I guess all things must finally come to an end, right? What was I even thinking that I could get away with it? That I was too smart for my own good? The day Nicholas kicked me out, I didn't even see it coming. He had gone out and I was worried sick because I hadn't heard from Adam in days. A few hours later, Nicholas stormed back home earlier than expected. And let me tell you, he looked like thunderclouds ready to burst. Everything changed in that moment. I didn't even need a sorcerer to tell me why Nicholas looked like that. The weight of guilt and regret hit me like a freight train. I knew I had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. My mind raced with thoughts of how I could have been so foolish, so reckless. It was like a movie playing in slow motion, except this wasn't fiction. It was my life unraveling before my eyes. He didn't say a word at first, just stormed into the living room where I was sitting. His eyes looked so angry and disappointed. I tried to speak, to ask him what was wrong. I wanted to pretend, but he immediately cut me off with a sharp gesture. Nicholas's response hit me like a ton of bricks. I was bracing myself for a heated outburst, but he surprised me by staying eerily calm. He didn't yell or curse. Instead, he calmly informed me that he was aware of my affair and gave me just 20 minutes to grab my stuff and get out. It was like a cold slap in the face. He explained that he could have unleashed his anger, but he chose not to for the sake of our kids. He didn't want them to witness a scene, to hear their parents shouting at each other. He practically begged me to leave peacefully. I was stunned into silence. How could he know? I had been so careful, or so I thought. Panic was washing over me as I tried to come up with an explanation, an excuse, anything to salvage the situation. But deep down, I knew there was no way out of this. I felt trapped. I knew I had messed up big time. Despite having nowhere else to go, I had no choice but to start packing. I quietly gathered my stuff, making sure the kids didn't catch on to what was happening. I knew Nicholas had a way with words, especially with the kids, so I trusted him to handle the explanation smoothly. With a heavy heart, I called an Uber and headed to Adam's place, hoping for at least a place to stay or something. But when I got there, it wasn't Adam who answered the door. It was his wife, or should I say ex-wife. I'd only ever seen her pictures. She went off on me, screaming and telling me to get lost. She then started reveling in my misery. She looked at my stuff and said she was glad I was on the street. I then realized Adam was also out of the picture. She'd kicked him out too. I scrambled to call him, hoping he'd pick up and offer some kind of help. Thankfully, he did, directing me to his parents' place where he was staying temporarily. It wasn't an ideal situation, but it was better than being out on the streets. Adam and I went through a phase of blaming each other for the mess we found ourselves in. It was easy to point fingers, but deep down, we knew it wasn't just our fault. The attraction between us was just too strong, almost magnetic. We acknowledged that staying together wasn't going to be easy, but we were willing to face whatever challenges came our way. As for my family, well, that was a dead end. I've never had a close relationship with them, and I knew they wouldn't welcome me with open arms. The thought of going back there was out of the question. I could already imagine the lectures and judgment I'd face. And with my husband likely already painting me as the villain, I didn't stand a chance with them. Adam's parents, on the other hand, were more understanding. They welcomed us into their home, but it wasn't exactly spacious. With several of Adam's siblings and their families already living there, we knew our stay would have to be temporary. Still, we were grateful for their hospitality and the roof over our heads. Desperate for a lifeline, we attempted to reach out to our exes for financial support. Adam tried his luck with his wife, while I mustered up the courage to ask my husband. Both requests were met with rejection. My husband's response was especially harsh. He made it clear that divorce was imminent. He hurled insults and accusations over the phone. My husband wasn't done with me, though. The day after my husband kicked me out, I made the decision to call in sick at work for at least a week. I needed time to settle into my new living arrangement and figure out the logistics of commuting from Adam's place. Barely a week after I had called in sick, I received a call from my workplace, and the news couldn't have been worse. I was fired. Not only that, but they didn't even extend the courtesy of a 2-week notice. Their reasoning? A thorough investigation revealed that my assistants had been handling the bulk of my responsibilities while I contributed next to nothing. My incompetence had cost me my job and tarnished my professional reputation. I lost my job not just because I wasn't great at it, but also because of Nicholas's influence. He probably called up the boss, being buddies and all, and got me booted. It stung knowing that someone I once trusted had turned on me like that. I thought about suing, but that felt like a joke. I mean, where would I get the cash for legal battles? We were barely making ends meet, trying to save up to get out of Adam's parents' place. Adam himself was in a tough spot. He'd been out of work for years, and now he was trying to find something decent, but jobs were scarce, and the ones available were just low-paying grunt work. It felt like we were stuck in a loop of bad luck and tough choices. Every day was a struggle to keep our heads above water, let alone think about fighting legal battles or finding stable jobs. The reality of our situation was a far cry from what we had hoped for. The situation was getting tougher by the day. Money-wise, we were barely scraping by. Despite our constant job hunt, all we found were dead-end, low-paying jobs that neither of us wanted. It was a real struggle, and the stress kept piling up. To make matters worse, everyone was pointing fingers at us. Adam's parents, though they let us stay with them temporarily, didn't hold back their disappointment. They made it clear that our choices had landed us in this mess. My ex-husband, who was still seething with anger, refused to lift a finger to help. Adam's wife also refused to help. She had shut us out completely. We were left to fend for ourselves. And just when we thought things couldn't get any worse, Adam's mom's birthday celebration turned into a bitter reality check. We thought a small gathering would lift our spirits, but it only turned into the craziest day of our lives. Adam was excited about the birthday party because that meant he would see Emma. She was still angry that he had cheated on her mom, so she refused to talk to him. Adam was excited that he would finally see Emma and mend the fracture in their strained relationship. Cue the day of the party, guests are arriving. The last thing we expected was Nicholas showing up with Emma. The whole situation felt like a bad dream. Adam was visibly shocked, and I was just as stunned. My jaw was practically on the floor. Why was Nicholas here with Emma, acting like her date? It was like a twisted joke, but there was nothing funny about it. Adam wasted no time in confronting Emma about what was happening, but Emma, completely nonchalant, introduced Nicholas to everyone as her boyfriend. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Most of the guests had no clue about Nicholas being my ex-husband. They just knew about my affair. So to add insult to injury, everyone seemed to be charmed by Nicholas. His charisma and easygoing nature made him a hit with the crowd, which only fueled my jealousy and anger. How could he move on so quickly? Throughout the evening, I couldn't look away from him. Every time our eyes met, he smirked and looked away, and it left me seething and heartbroken. I know this might sound like a long vent, but I needed to get it all out. It just feels so messed up, doesn't it? How could he move on so quickly? I'm tired of Adam. I didn't sign up for this. Update. Hey Reddit. I knew I'd get a mix of responses posting this, but the hate comments still hit hard. Some people seemed almost gleeful that Nicholas had left me, while others said I deserved it for choosing Adam after cheating. Look, I'm not excusing what I did. I know it was wrong, and I'm facing the consequences head on. I'm suffering, and the last thing I need is more negativity. Now to answer a frequently asked question about my kids. I haven't mentioned them because I haven't seen them since I left the house. Right now, I'm just trying to survive. I miss them, but I need stability before I can think about visiting them. Sadly, the chances of me getting custody are slim due to state laws, but I'm holding out hope. I also want to address the doubts about my story being fake. I get it. It sounds like a soap opera. But this is my life right now, messy and chaotic. I'm sorry if it's hard to believe. As for my feelings, they're a mess too. I thought I loved Adam, but now I realize I don't. I love Nicholas. Seeing him with Emma hurt, especially knowing they're likely together. I want my husband back, but I don't see that happening. On to an actual update. Adam has invited Emma over to talk. He made her promise not to bring Nicholas. I'll update after that conversation happens. Thanks for reading. Update. Hey Reddit, I'm feeling incredibly worn out and sad right now. I promised an update on how the conversation with Emma went, and it went terribly. Emma showed up, but she brought Nicholas along, and he didn't even bother getting out of the car. He just smirked at me, which only added to my frustration. Emma's attitude towards me was incredibly rude. She acted as if I didn't even exist. This isn't the first time she's treated me this way. She did the same at her grandmother's birthday party. I understand she's upset because her dad cheated on her mom with me, but it's not like I forced him to do it. She shouldn't be taking her anger out on me. Adam tried to have a conversation with Emma, but it didn't go anywhere. She insisted that she and Nicholas were in love and dismissed everything Adam tried to explain about Nicholas using her to hurt us. Emma said Nicholas had already told her everything and she didn't care what we thought. It seems like she is completely under Nicholas's influence. Emma told us that now that she and Nicholas were together, she would be bringing him to all family events. I feel so defeated and overwhelmed right now. I just want to leave, but I have nowhere to go. I've also noticed a question that keeps popping up, and that's about why I'm broke despite having had a successful career as an architect. The truth is, I had no savings. I'll be honest. I was a reckless spender, or at least I used to be. It wasn't until Nicholas kicked me out that I realized I had almost zero savings of my own. So there you have it. That's why I'm in this financial situation. Update. Hey everyone, I appreciate the feedback, both positive and negative. To address some common questions, many of you are wondering why, despite having a successful career, it's been challenging for me to find another job. Honestly, I wish I had an answer. It's been tough, and I've been actively searching. I'm not a witch or a magician. I can't conjure up job offers. I simply haven't had luck finding another job. It's frustrating because I really want to move on from this situation. As for my current situation, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Adam has become clingier lately, probably sensing that I'm considering leaving. He's leaning on me heavily, and it's starting to wear me down. I've been feeling so fed up with everything. I've come to realize that Adam is quite lazy, which explains why he never had a job and why his wife had to support the household. I'm the one putting in the effort to find work, while he only does so when pressed, and even then his interest wanes quickly. Also today I was served divorce papers, and the terms aren't favorable for me. Adam insists I contested in court, but I signed a prenup, so there's not much I can expect to get out of this divorce. It's a very tough spot to be in. Reddit. Hey Reddit fam, just dropping a quick update. Not much has changed except Adam's being his usual self, which is super annoying. I find myself missing Nicholas more than ever, but I've accepted that returning to him isn't an option now. I made my bed, so now I have to lie in it. On a brighter note, I have a job interview lined up. Keep your fingers crossed for me. Adam and I had a heated argument about job hunting. He insists he's putting in effort, but honestly, I see minimal action from his end. To add to our stress, his parents are subtly hinting that our stay with them has an expiration date, maybe a month or two tops, and yet Adam's job search remains stagnant. Update. Hey Reddit, giving you a quick update, and yeah, it's kind of crazy how despite the negativity I sometimes face here, posting on Reddit feels oddly therapeutic. With therapy out of financial reach right now, I guess this platform serves as my makeshift counseling session. So here I am. The situation with Nicholas is driving me up the wall. Emma's relationship with Adam remains strained, but she's a frequent visitor at her grandparents' place, always with Nicholas in tow. It's like rubbing salt in Adam's wounds. He's been spoiling her rotten, buying her a new car, phone, clothes, you name it. It's like a slap in the face every time I see her flaunting it all. Nicholas, in particular, seems to take pleasure in smirking at me whenever our paths cross. Our only interaction lately was him asking if I've signed the divorce papers yet. On top of that, the job hunt has hit a dead end. Rejection after rejection has me feeling lower than ever. My libido, that was once high, has taken a nosedive. I even turned down Adam's attempts at intimacy because our relationship is drowning in much bigger issues, and those overshadow sex right now. Many of you have been asking about my kids. I haven't seen them yet because I'm not in a place where I want them to see me like this, vulnerable and struggling. I promised myself I'd reunite with them once I've sorted out my own mess, but honestly, I'm not sure when that'll be. Update. Hey Reddit fam, another quick update from the trenches of my life. The negativity in the comments has simmered down a bit, which is a relief. I had a heated argument with Adam recently, and I'm starting to question if he's just out of touch or plain clueless. First off, the good news, I finally snagged a job. It's not glamorous or well-paying, but it's something. Right now, anything beats sitting around in this awkward situation. I'm itching to have my own place again so I can get away from all the strained politeness and pretending I like Adam's family. Adam, on the other hand, is still on the job hunt. He's as lackadaisical as ever and keeps bringing up my divorce. He's under this delusion that we'll walk away with a fortune because Nicholas is wealthy. He's fantasizing about getting a big payout, but he's forgetting one crucial detail. Nicholas is a lawyer, and there's a rock-solid cheating clause in our prenup. I've tried explaining this to Adam, but he brushes it off as pessimism. Realistically, we don't even have the money to hire a lawyer, let alone battle it out in court. It's frustrating dealing with someone who's not facing reality. To those mocking me for not wanting Nicholas to move on despite me cheating. Yes, I did hope he'd move on eventually, but not like this and not this quickly. Especially not with Emma, Adam's daughter. It's a painful reminder of how little he cared for me. Adam's also struggling with the situation. He's angry and saddened by it all, often boiling over with rage whenever Nicholas is around, and sometimes I think he wants to rush over and fist fight with Nicholas. But let's be real, Adam wouldn't stand a chance against Nicholas in any confrontation. That's the update for now. It's a very messy situation, and I'm just trying to navigate through it all. Update.
Hey, Reddit?
I've noticed a common question popping up, so I'll address it once more. Many of you are curious about my family situation. Well, let me be clear. We're not exactly the picture-perfect happy family. In fact, we're quite the opposite. There's a long history of animosity between us, and it's not just a phase. It's deeply rooted. I'm pretty sure Nicholas has spilled the beans to them about what went down, and they've chosen not to reach out. Frankly, I wouldn't expect anything different from them. We've never seen eye to eye, and there's no love lost between us. I didn't even consider going to my parents' place when Nicholas kicked me out. I knew they wouldn't take me in, let alone offer any support. It would have probably ended in mockery and more drama. Now for a brighter update, I've been grinding at work. It's been a few weeks since my last update, and I've been putting in the hours. I'm squirreling away every cent from my paycheck because I'm determined to get out of this mess. And no, Adam isn't in my plans for the future. He's lazy, lacks ambition, and seems content with dependency. I haven't shared this with him yet because I know it would set off a storm. Thanks for reading this and sticking with me through all of this. I know it's been a roller coaster, but I appreciate the support, however little it may be. Update. Hey Reddit, I'm sitting in the bathroom at the courthouse, and I'm not sure if I should be laughing or crying. This situation is just so absurd that I had to share it with you all. Adam and I were at court today for the final divorce proceedings, hoping for some closure and resolution. Well, let me tell you, it was a whirlwind of emotions. I knew deep down that I wouldn't get anything out of the divorce. There was an ironclad prenup in place, and Nicholas clearly had it all planned out, I'm sure. So when the judgment came down, I wasn't surprised. No alimony, no assets, not even custody of my kids. That last part hit me hard, but I saw it coming. In my state, cheating is a game changer, and the kids automatically go to the non-cheating spouse. Nicholas got custody, not just because of that, but also because he's financially stable. He's got a house, money, stability, the whole package. He's the poster child for the perfect scenario, I guess. It hurt, and I cried, but at least I knew what I was walking into. But here's where it gets even crazier. Adam, after all this goes down, starts losing it. He's yelling in the courtroom, blaming me for everything. He says I didn't try hard enough, that if I had used some of my paycheck for a lawyer, we could have gotten something. It's like he's living in a different reality. I keep reminding him about the prenup, about my limited options, but he's not hearing it. Then out of nowhere, he tells me he's done with me. He told me he's done with me, that I need to pack my things and leave. He's kicking me out of the house because he feels I'm useless now. So here I am, in shock, writing this post from the bathroom because what the hell just happened? I don't know what's next, but I guess life has a funny way of throwing curveballs. Update. Hey Reddit, it's been a while since I last updated, and I want to thank all of you for the positive comments amidst the negativity. Yes, there were hurtful remarks, people saying I deserved what happened, but that's life, right? As most of you probably guessed, Adam did kick me out eventually. I took what little belongings I had and left. Right now I'm rooming with someone in a tiny apartment. It's crazy expensive thanks to the housing crisis, but I didn't have much choice. Things have been tough, really tough, but I'm relieved to be away from Adam, who seemed content to depend on me without making any effort himself. He's tried to apologize and reach out a few times, but I've chosen not to engage. As for the kids, when it's my visitation day, Nicholas sometimes lets me come over to the house to see them instead of bringing them to my cramped apartment. It's a small comfort, but I'll take what I can get. This might be my last update for a while. I just wanted to share where things stand now. Thanks for reading and sticking with me through this tumultuous journey. Take care, everyone.